Big news from Star Wars, everybody. The new trailer for Rise of Skywalker shows Rey dressed as a Sith, an evil Jedi. And that was actually going to be the topic of this video anyway. So now we'll really go into it, because I actually think that might be the only way to save the last Star Wars movie. Now, I have been talking about this for a while. After The Force Awakens came out, I did a video saying that people were excited to see Star Wars back, but the actual movie had some very deep flaws that seemed to indicate problems in the studio. People downvoted the video and told me I didn't get it, and that it was going to great places. Cut to a couple years later, and you don't hear from those people anymore. So, let's go deeper into those flaws, which put Star Wars in the situation it's in now, and why I actually think that Rey needs to turn to the dark side. First, let me say that I don't think this is actually going to happen. Maybe they are planning something crazy, but I think it would be far too much of a risk. So it's very likely that evil Rey is just part of a dream sequence or something similar. But I actually think that it's a necessary risk, and that they're in a difficult spot to begin with, for a couple reasons. One of those is that The Rise of Skywalker is the third movie in a trilogy, and those are notoriously hard to pull off. Usually, the first two movies in a series are great, because the first one has to be to get the sequel, and in the sequel, the filmmaker has the freedom and money to do everything they wanted to do in the first. But by the time the third one rolls around, we've already seen so much that it tends to struggle. Very often, a new filmmaker will take over, but when that happens, you tend to get a remake of the sequel, instead of the series going to a new place. The trilogies that do work tend to be planned out early. But in this case, the creators seem to be flying by the seat of their pants, which is already dangerous. On top of that, we've already seen some real errors in execution. The one villain who you could build up for a final showdown and a big reveal was Snoke. And as far as I know, Snoke was just randomly killed in the last movie. So to pay off this trilogy, they're going to have to bring story threads together in a big way. And to be honest, they're running a little bit short on them. And this is the core of the problem. In basic terms, when you do a fantasy movie, there's two setups that work. Either a special person comes to a normal place, or a normal person goes to a special place. In the original series, it was the farm boy, Luke, going to fight with the rebels. In the new setup, it obviously had to be Rey. But that normal person has to be humble, so the audience identifies with them. In this series, it seems like they had an agenda from the start, and part of that agenda was making Rey better than everyone else in the movie. So she starts out able to outfight and outthink every other character. This is bad, because now she also can't change as a person. Part of the structure of a fantasy movie is that the special person changes the normal place.
They can be a great people, Kal-El, they wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way.
Or the special place changes the normal person, for the better, and we grow with them. Rey can't do that. She's got no way to grow. And instead of people seeing themselves in her and wanting her to succeed, you've created tension by making her someone who is better than the audience can be. And better than all the characters we care about too. Which makes people either disconnect and not care about her, or outright want her to fail, like we've talked about. On top of that, you've also taken an additional risk by making a movie that is built to appeal to what boys want, and not having any men for them to identify with or look up to. Poe is a fool, Finn is a coward, Luke is a quitter, and Kylo is a weakling. Pro-female is great. Wonder Woman made $1 billion. But anti-male is dangerous ground. So, these are some fundamental problems. And as a result, there's no good way to end this trilogy with this setup. But the ironic thing about it is that things have gone so far astray, so much in the other direction, that you could actually have a chance of making this movie pretty good if you actually follow through on that image from the trailer and turn Rey into your villain and have Kylo become your hero. In pro wrestling, this is what's known as a double turn, and it's a time-honored trick that can save a storyline that's gone wrong. In this situation, there's a ton of negativity built up in the real world around the direction of Star Wars, and the people who the fans blame aren't in the movie. But unfortunately, a lot of that direction is reflected by Rey and how overpowered she is. If she turns out to be a Sith in one way or another, this could satisfy the mystery about why she was more powerful than the other characters, a mystery they probably won't explain otherwise. And, more importantly, it would play off of the real feelings that they've created in the viewers. The tension, disconnection, frustration, all of those are bad for a hero, but actually great for a villain. And now you don't actually have a strong hero for her to fight, but the one character who actually is good with the Force, and who has been humbled enough that the audience feels no negativity towards them, is Kylo. Again, being beaten down and having to fight your way back, that's something people could identify with. And there's a great history of this. The Rock, who actually is the highest paid movie star in the world now, was actually hated by wrestling fans when he first debuted. He was an overpowered, generic good guy that was pushed down their throat. But the WWF listened to their boos, turned him into a bad guy, and the rest is history. There's no reason why this couldn't be the same thing here. You'd have to make an extra long movie, and take extra care to make it logical, but this is something that the fans have obviously wanted for a long time. There's a ton of fan art of Rey as a Sith Lord, and she'd still be the strongest character. And likewise, Kylo talked about feeling the pull of the light from the beginning, so that would make sense. And originally, what was new about Kylo didn't work, and what worked about him wasn't new, since it was copying Darth Vader. This would give him a chance to be more than that, and take the story in a different direction. And even more than that, this would relieve a lot of tension that's been created between the studio and the fans. That tension is just as real as any tension you'd create in the movie itself. Because even though people may not want to acknowledge it, the fans really are the lifeblood of any movie franchise. They're the ones who spend the money that make it successful, and they deserve the best you can give them. I don't think any of this is going to actually happen. We're very likely going to see Rey conquer Kylo and everyone else again, with just some new settings or big explosions added, with the result being better than The Last Jedi, but still probably a little disappointing. But either way, let's hope for the best. If you liked this video, give it a share, click the notification bell, and thanks for listening.